Wow, am I excited today, everybody. I confirmed that I'm going to be in a one-shot Monday night, and I'm super thrilled about this. I am really looking forward to it because it's with someone that I've wanted to play with for quite a while now. One Crit Wonder, O-N-E, Crit Wonder, W-O-N-D-E-R. You can find him on Twitter and YouTube, and he's doing some great stuff, and I dig his energy. He's a funny guy, and I'm like, wow, I really want to get in a game with this guy. And I saw that he was having a one-shot coming up, and I'm like, oh, I should see if he's, if I can get in on this one, because the timing was great for me. And I'm like, oh, sure, great. So I sent him a message, and graciously, this is how cool the guy is. Graciously, he's like, yeah, sure, we'll make a space. Because he was only going to have 4 players, and he was willing to add a 5th. Like, how cool is that? So I'm stoked. I am thrilled about being in another one-shot, and there's some potential for some other cool stuff down the line that I'm really excited about. It's way too early to talk about any of that, but hey, cool stuff is happening, and I'm getting hyped. I'm getting excited. I'm going to talk about, for this DnDaily, about how I go through the process of like developing my character before the game as a player. If that's something you're interested in, hey, and if this is your first time here, welcome to 1 in 20 D&D. My name is Gregory. This is DnDaily number 82. And I try to share tips and tricks around D&D, tabletop gaming, and other RPGs. I also like to try to keep abreast of what's going on in the gaming community, especially the role-playing game community, and share my insights with other casts and streams and videos such as Critical Role. And speaking of Critical Role, their Kickstarter is nearly to 9.5 million. They're getting close to 9.5 million. I think now they're well over 70,000 backers, like 70,600 and something backers. I think they're going to hit 10 million. They have 6 days left. I think things are going to pick up for the next few days. I expect they're going to hit 10 million. And I watched the beginning of Critical Role from last night, this week's session. I hope you've checked it out already yourselves. And they basically confirmed what was announced in Talks Machina. Sam Riegel just sort of like on the fly said, hey, we have a secret stretch goal that if we hit 10 million, we're gonna get to see what it's like when Travis Willingham goes into a haunted mansion or a haunted house or something like this. And so they sort of confirmed it on the stream on Critical Role, and hopefully this isn't a spoiler for you all, but hey, check it out. Ashley Johnson is back in the saddle on the show. So she was in the game this week, which is super exciting. The rest of the crew is thrilled to have her back at her spot on the table. So that's cool stuff. Hey, so let's talk about character creation. Okay, now this would work equally well for NPCs. I've done a little bit of that in the past, but I'm getting ready to play a game on Monday. Now, I'm the kind of guy, when I play a game, sometimes I have a very clear idea of the character I want to play, the class, the race, the etc., right? The background. Sometimes it's very clear to me before I even look for a game or before I get involved in a game. Other times, I'm the kind of guy that will be like, especially because, look, I've been playing for 30-something years. So I've tried most of the classes. I have not played a Warlock yet. That's going to happen soon, but not yet. There's also an Artificer. Those 2 classes, I really want to try out in a longer game where I know I'm committed to playing, like, for a few weeks or a few months. In a one-shot, I just like to have fun. So there's a couple classes that I tend to fall back on. Sometimes I like to, like, one of my favorite classes is the Ranger. I dig Rangers. I think they're fun if you can get into the characters. Some people think that they're sort of underpowered, and that's understandable. They've done some stuff to try to tweak and maneuver and whatever, but I really just enjoy the concept of the character. So I decided I'm going to play a ranger for this because they have some frontline fighters. They have a little bit of healing, which the ranger can supplement, which is cool. They have a spellcaster. So I'm like, you know what? What if I just make a character? I like diverse characters. I like characters that have flexibility. My favorite character was Captain Jermaine Santo from the Varlden Reach. I have some videos here on the channel that you can go check out, some of my after game recaps for that. He was super fun to play, and as a bard, pretty versatile. I could get into combat, I could throw some spells, I could do some healing, I can buff the party, so lots of fun to do that. So with the ranger, mostly I'm going to be ranged DPS, like damage per second, right? That's a video game term, but it still applies on a lot of levels in role-playing games. If we get into combat, which hopefully we'll get into at least one combat, if we get into combat, I will try to do as much damage as possible. So this tied into how I sort of started developing the characters. I decided that I'm going to be I found a cool picture. This is part of what I do. I'm like, wow, this is an inspiring image. So I had an idea, like maybe I should play a halfling ranger. That would be kind of cool and different. It's not something I've done before, but they get the dex bonus for their racial trait and racial stat rather, and that would be fun. I think I could see that happening. Let's do that. So I decided I'm going to do a ranger. So I went into that. I started building the character, lay out the stats. Now the ranger has something called the Colossus Slayer. Colossus Slayers do extra damage to any creature that's been injured. That's kind of cool. That bumps my damage up. Awesome. I have Hunter's Mark. That also bumps my damage up. I have the archery fighting style, which means I hit more often. So now what I've done is I've taken my class Ranger and I've focused in. I'm like, okay, I just want to be super effective in attacking. Now, I won't be quite as effective if I get into melee. However, I can fight with two weapons, two short swords, and still tear it up. I won't hit quite as often, but I'll make one extra attack. With my bow, we're going to play at 5th level. So with my bow, I'll get 2 attacks. But if I fight with my short swords, I'll get 3 attacks. Because as a 5th level ranger, I get to make 2 normal weapon attacks, but I can also attack once with my offhand as a bonus action. That's 3. So I'm thinking about, like, okay, cool. So here's how I can be an effective combat, even though I'm not in the front line necessarily, I can still hopefully do lots of damage. And I can fall back on, I have a little bit of healing, a little bit of utility, and I'm a good tracker. We know we're going to be sort of on this like coastal swamp area, and so that was part of what I did when I started developing the backstory. So I'm like, okay, who is this guy? I want him to be a folk hero. I kind of want him to be, I think halfling folk heroes is just a fun, yeah, okay, of course it harkens to The Hobbit, sure. That's a little obvious, right? Bilbo Baggins or Frodo Baggins, the folk hero kind of character. But those are fun characters to play, and this is just a silly one-shot, y'all. So, folk hero, okay, cool. Now, here was something I did differently in this development. I looked at the map. And I'm like, okay, well, where are we? Where are we going to be? And I figured, you know what? I think I want this guy to be a local boy. So that's what I did. I'm like, all right, we're on the coast. There's swampland. There's forests. So his favored terrains are going to be forest and swamplands. That's easy, quick, simple, right? He's a beast hunter, basically. So his favored enemy, beasts. And then I also believe I picked... what did I pick? Because by 5th level, you have 2 favorite enemies. I don't remember. It's not important. So basically, what I'm thinking about now is, who is he? How does he talk? What's his deal? So I rolled randomly on the backstory stuff, like the ideals, the bonds, flaws, that kind of thing. And it sort of came up with this concept through that okay, the reason he's a folk hero is because he stood up to this merchant noble. He got a whooping from it too. He actually got beat down by this noble, but because he was willing to stand up, the other people around him were kind of like, yeah, awesome, like okay, yeah, we're not gonna take this crap. So he became sort of this, again, this folk hero of this. He stood up to the man, sort of. So that's kind of gives me a nutshell of who he is. Maybe he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, but I think he's also brave, daring, and adventurous. And not only does he have this little bit of a like an FU to authority, it's not so much an FU to authority, it's more of like, he's gonna stand up for what's right, and he's gonna stand up for the little guy, you know, the person that's being trod on. He's gonna stand up to bullies. So I have this idea of what he's gonna be like. And the last thing I'm gonna do, and I have already sort of started doing this, is I want to think about, how does he talk? What's it? Because I love doing voices. This is a thrill for me, and something I don't know. I don't know how good I am at it, but I love doing it, and I want to get better at it. I've been doing it since I was a little kid, but it was like when I was alone kind of stuff. And so now through D&D, through role-playing, I've gotten to maybe flex that muscle a little bit. So I think he's going to have a little bit of a silly Irish-Scottish kind of deal. Like, I've sort of figured out his name, and I think he's going to talk a little like this, and hopefully it's not irritating. I don't want it to be cliche nor irritating. I must take him seriously, because if I don't take him seriously, no one else will take him seriously. Don't you know? I mean, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? But he's very sure of himself. He's quite sure of himself, in fact, and he knows the area quite well. I think he'll be rather a quiet sort, maybe not being too much to speak all the time out of turn, but when he has something to say, he knows what to say. This is what I think he might sound like. Anyway, so that's like a test. That's how I'm gonna try him on for size. I will probably work on that over the weekend and flex it a little, like flex the muscle a little bit, see how he feels, see how he talks. I'm digging this character, and I'm digging this process, and that's how I go through I literally do this pretty much every time I'm going to create a character. Sometimes I roll stats before I do anything else. Other times the stats are kind of secondary. For this character, stats were really secondary. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to make it real straightforward and simple. He's going to have high dex, he's going to have a decent wisdom, decent constitution, and the rest is not so important. I did bump his intelligence a tiny bit. He's got like an 11 intelligence. That was one of my ability score improvements for level 4 or 5, whatever. And so that's it. That's how I go through it, y'all. That's the literal process I go through to create a character. I am really excited about playing this character. Look forward to it. I can't wait, honestly, for this one shot. And I'll keep you all informed. Like I said, check out One Crit Wonder. He does some cool stuff. And it's going to be streamed. So I will share the information for that. And you can come check me out and see what I'm like in someone else's game. I can't wait, y'all. I'm super excited. Hey, have a wonderful weekend. I am Gregory. This is 1 in 20 D&D. I appreciate your stopping in and taking time to listen to me go off with my excitement about making characters. I hope you have an awesome time. I'd love to see you at a table someday. Keep rolling 20s until then. And remember, it's your game. Play your way.